But for those among us lucky enough to still be ID'd in the supermarket when buying alcohol, do you think you'd still get away with it at the age of 42? Well, one illegal immigrant did. Yes, a 42-year-old Iraqi called AJ in the press, who crossed the channel in a small boat, has been found posing as a 17-year-old boy living with other children. That's despite his thick beard, receding hair and numerous tattoos on his arms and neck. He's now staying in a 3-star hotel with other adult migrants, where he appeals the decision at taxpayers' expense to have him deported. Well, let's get more on this story now. I'm delighted to be joined both by Stephen Wolfe, the director at the Centre for Migration and Economic Prosperity, and Ivon Sampson, who's an immigration lawyer. And thank you so much to the both of you for making the time for us this afternoon. I'm going to start with you, Stephen. This seems like an almost unbelievable case, and yet apparently it's true.
Yes, apparently it is true, and the Home Office has said that it is a very brazen attempt by an individual who was connected to ISIS to evade the general rules of asylum applications and pretend to be that of a child. And of course, I think most normal people would find this quite shocking, but at least a relief that even after a week, checks were made on him. He was identified and taken out of the children's accommodation. But what it does show is that there are a large number of people, according to the Home Office statistics, between January 2018 and March 2022, there were 14,208 UASCs, that's children applicants for asylum, and nearly 22%, 4,814, were actually adults. So there is a problem with the system, and the government needs to be very clear that they identify children at the earliest situation, and those who are evading it must be picked up and taken away.
Yes, I mean, it is good news that this has been picked up, but to be put in accommodation with children for a week seems like an extraordinary thing. And Ivon, I'm going to bring you in here. As an immigration lawyer, I want to understand how this sort of thing happens. Why do people slip through the net?
Well, first of all, I'm absolutely gobsmacked that it took 1 week for the Home Office to identify this person as an adult. I think that needs to be investigated. With regard to age assessment, it's not compulsory, and people can refuse it. The government's tabling amendments this week to the illegal migration bill, whereby if a person doesn't consent to being age tested, then they will be deemed to be an adult. I think that's the right approach. There's another problem, is the way that you test people for age. So a common way is, the most accurate way is through X-ray. And there have been people, experts, saying that it could damage the individuals, cause them harm. I think that's a small price to pay if we wish to properly assess people as children. And it should be compulsory that everyone should be assessed. Now, it's easy when someone's 10 or 11, but it's more difficult when they're 17. And you get some 17-year-olds who look more like 20-year-olds, or some 17 look like 13. So I think where there is some dispute as to somebody's age, or not certain about that, it should be compulsory tested. There's many modern techniques that we can use to do that. Now, local authorities do that. We should take it out of the hands of local authority. Asylum Aid conducted a survey recently of 70 local authorities, and they were getting it wrong a third of the time. So I think this needs to be centralised, that as soon as somebody claims asylum, they should be tested for their age, if there's a dispute about their age, not if there's some concerns about whether they are or not children.
That's really, really interesting and really, really profound, actually, that the illegal migration bill that's going before Parliament this week actually has some of the solutions to this. Many people will be asking, why on earth were people allowed to refuse an age test and then just be assumed to be a child in the past? It seems like a bizarre system. But Stephen Wolfe, I suppose there are some activists who say that we can't be entirely sure that age verification mechanisms are absolutely scientifically credible. What do you say to those people?
Well, I would say, just like Ivon said, is that this is a price that we need to pay, because in international law, we have to comply with the UN Convention on the Rights of Children, which identifies those under the age of 18 have to have special treatment. We have our own laws in the UK that deal with children, the way that we treat them in homes and hotels. And of course, under the illegal migration bill, it's crucial to know those over the age of 18, because they're the ones who will fall in the category of being assessed automatically to be removed to Rwanda for assessment. And so that is why you're going to see an increase in numbers of people attempting to persuade those in authority that they are under the age of 18. And of course, in order to keep a system proper and effective and have the regard of the public to know that it's working properly, then abuses must be sought out and corrected. And in this case, we have to have a system in place that checks those who are ages in dispute, and it's therefore entirely proper to use all the scientific methods that we've got in place.
Yeah, just to throw it back to you, Ivon, now, I mean, currently what has happened is this individual, this 42-year-old alleged former ISIS member in question, he's not being held in prison, he's being held in a 3-star hotel. He's been able to appeal the decision of the government that wants to deport him, but he cannot yet be deported. He's claiming that he has mental health issues that can only be treated by the NHS. Why on earth are we indulging this sort of clear fantasy, in my view?
Well, it's a weak Home Office is the reason. Look, Article 1F of the Refugee Convention allows us to remove this person from the country because he has committed crimes. I understand that he's wanted on Eurodac, which is the European system that Interpol uses for identifying criminals. I also understand there's a red notice out on him. So we know there's enough evidence to suggest that he has committed criminal activities. Article 1F allows us to refuse to consider his asylum claim, and also excludes us from Article 33 of the Convention, which stops us sending him back to a country where he faces persecution. We can actually send him to a country where he does face persecution. Why on earth is a Home Office not doing that? Why is this person being let? Why is he kept in a 3-star hotel? Why is he not being removed? What is the Home Office doing? It's a total disgrace.
Ivon, I completely agree with every word that you've said there. I suppose it does raise an eyebrow that clearly the Home Office can issue press releases on this man, but they can't kick him out of the country. It smacks of incompetence. I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Stephen Wolfe and Ivon Sampson, for both of your perspectives this afternoon.